I hope you're ready.
This is Unbridled Thoughts.
We want to hear what you have to say.
Welcome to Unbridled Thoughts. This is Sarah.
And I'm Ren, and you better grab the mane because there are no reins in Unbridled Thoughts.
Today is such an exciting day.
I know.
We got to go hang out with this young lady at her event that she did, and she did such a lovely job planning it all out and doing everything. You want to introduce her?
Yeah, this is my friend Rebecca Ann.
Hi.
And Ann, tell us what your title is at your organization.
My title is Outreach Coordinator for Genesis Joy House Homeless Shelter here in Warner Robins, Georgia.
Yes, and we've known you for a few years now, but
Yep.
we've been kind of like chomping at the bit to interview you about all the wonderful things that you do. And both of us just really admire your entrepreneurial spirit, so we kind of wanted to ask you a few questions about that if you're down.
Absolutely. And first off, I'd just like to say congratulations to you ladies for just trusting yourself and your dream to go out here and put yourselves out there to do this podcast. I mean, it's amazing. So many people talk about doing stuff like this, but very few are actually able to do it. So I really commend you both.
Thank
on
you.
that.
Thank you so much.
It is
You're
scary.
welcome.
It's something. How many times were we like, "Are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah.
Are we gonna do? We're gonna do this." But I mean, we didn't have too much of that back and forth. We've just always been kind of sure of things because I don't know. It's like we always call it the portal's open for us, but
Yeah.
there just felt like there were so many confirmations. Like nope, this is. You got to trust the confirmations and just keep going with it. And it's been bigger and better than we could have ever imagined so far.
Yeah, it's been so much
Awesome.
fun.
It's so great.
Yeah.
And I'm just so honored to be here.
Oh, thank
to
you.
be one of
We're
the
honored
I
to
feel like the
have
first
you.
guest, so it's so
Yes.
great. And so thank you for that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, I wanted to ask you, I mean, since I've known you, you've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. Can you tell us about some of the businesses that you've worked with or owned in the past?
So I got started in business when I was 13 and I was giving riding lessons.
Okay.
So I used to give horseback riding lessons. So early on, I just learned about business and the trade-off for your time for money. And so learning that early on, it just made me very mindful of the amount of time I'm putting in and how much of a return, I'm getting. And so after just being employed in different, industries, I'd say, I just started to realize that the time and effort and passion I'm putting in is not being returned with I feel like the appropriate amount of value. And so it just made me want to become my own boss, to invest value into my own ideas and then, be able to really reap more of a return per se, I think. So one of my first or second after that, I would say when I first moved to Atlanta, I started a media marketing company with two of my friends, and I was aspiring to get into the music industry, and Atlanta is kind of very easy to do, and so because a lot of the key players are just there amongst all the normal people. And so I was able to run into some people in the music industry, and then I was able to offer them the service of doing media marketing for them, but via MySpace at the time.
Okay.
And so one of my good friends, instead of her going to college, she went to Central Georgia Tech for web programming or, web design, computer science. And so she had learned how to code and change the backgrounds to MySpace pages before you were able to get the templates.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so
That's
we
really cool.
were able to offer that service to some artists there that were local at the time. He was just kind of coming up, but what's his name? Gucci Mane was one. Dallas Austin, which is a big producer out of Atlanta. We did Bobby Valentino, and so through that business, I was able to segue into the music industry, which had always been my dream. So I guess that was like my second business, and then I was employed for a little bit there in Atlanta with a music production company. And then while I was there, I kind of created an entity which was like my own production company. And so I had set out to produce an album for a young artist that I helped discover. And so, but the thing is with business, you know, you can be passionate about the idea and know how to actually do it, but the business portion of it is so important, and that's not the part that just comes naturally.
No.
That's the part where, you know, ultimately you're doing this stuff because you love it, you're passionate about it, you're not thinking about the money. And, you know, the people who are thinking about the money, they know exactly how to get that value out where they're able to keep the money. And so that business technically really burnt me. And so, but it was a lesson saying, hey, you know, if I don't know the business portion of it, then this will always happen. You know, I'll definitely be exploited. So once that happened, it did kind of make me want to retreat back, you know, especially when you do a business with people on a level where it's like family.
Yeah.
You know, and so if it doesn't go well, you feel kind of like betrayed because, you know, you're investing time and attention into some of these projects. But then when it comes down to the business, it's like not personal, you know, it really is. So kind of going off on a tangent there.
this is
about all these
great.
businesses.
I love the way you word things too. Like for like even when you were talking about the business and you were talking about trading the value of your time for your time, I was like, whoa, I've never heard anybody word it like that, but that was like really cool.
Awesome.
And I'm like, I feel like I'm learning. I mean, I say this all the time. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but this is cool to like learn these layers about you that I didn't know.
Thank you.
Yeah. But no, this is great.
Yeah, because it's very interesting because I have like I feel like a natural tact for certain things, or talents, I would say. I haven't had to go the traditional path to actually to work in them or work within it, you know, those skill sets. So I think that's part of where my imposter syndrome comes in because I don't feel as qualified as other people because I didn't take the traditional path.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, if you're in it and you are gaining that experience, I feel like that's, you know, just as good, if not better, than learning the theory behind stuff, you know. But so let me see, what is my, and so now what I would say, majority of my learnings, you know, as it pertains to entrepreneurship and really learning to monetize off my value, I'm in real estate.
Okay.
You know, real estate, more so housing, I would like to use it, you know, as a classification because I'm a very service-oriented person. I love to be of service to others, to help people. And so something that kind of drew me to housing is just that everyone needs it, and you know, and it really is an essential need in life. And so as a whole, it should definitely be something on the forefront of our minds and ways to help, you know, make that a possibility for everyone. But it's also very lucrative. It's very it's an industry that, because it is needed and it's essential, you know, it's a great trade-off, you know, for time that you put in and for the value you can get returned. And so I actually have like an acre out in Bon Air, Georgia, and I parked 2 RVs in the backyard, and I've been able to list those on Airbnb.
Oh, nice.
So that has been working really well. I'm producing almost, I would say, maybe $3,000 a month off the 2.
Wow.
And when I tell you, people are so ecstatic and so happy to acquire that service from, you know, I don't feel bad that I'm using a $10,000 RV in the back, making the same money as the hotel down the street, or even some people are renting out their whole houses on Airbnb.
Yeah.
But these people are so happy because it's the perfect fit for whatever experience, you know, they're needing at that time. And so that is kind of a space, you know, the short-term rentals. In Warner Robins, it's really hard to find land and find land at a good rate. So I kind of stumbled across this business model, which with the RVs. And so that is kind of like my main entrepreneur approach, or business that I'm working on, in addition to the stuff that I'm doing with Genesis.
Nice. That's awesome.
That's so awesome. No,
You're doing great.
No, you're
Just
doing
so much.
so great.
Okay,
You really
good.
are.
Okay, good.
It's cute to me how you are such a strong businesswoman, you know what I mean? And then we put a microphone in front of you, and I understand because that's how it was with me. And I mean, I grew up, my mind runs, I have ADHD, so my mind is running like every sentence I want to say. I probably have a good 10 different ways my mind is telling me to say it. So there's a lot of times I will combine all the words together. So this is like my nightmare. So you're doing excellent. And
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I got to know, but this is totally rogue, but where do you shop? Because those heels are freaking
know.
amazing.
Oh my gosh.
I wish y'all could see her. She's so darn cute.
Well, I'll be honest. This is Goodwill.
Okay.
These are actually TJ Maxx. And then this was a donated piece from a friend's sister who passed away. So
You look
so
just
yeah.
stunning,
Thank
gorgeous.
you.
I love
appreciate
it.
it. Yeah,
All
I just
right. We'll get back to business. But those heels are so cute.
yeah, appreciate it. Thank you so much.
So, what inspired you to pivot from business ownership into organization leadership and community outage?
Well, I kind of touched on it just a little bit when
You did.
I mentioned about my business that I was working with
Yeah.
people that were like family.
Yeah.
And when that deal fell through, it just really like kind of burnt me on people and trusting people. And it also, because it's like they take your ideas, which for creative people, those like your babies, those are your children.
Yeah.
And so now they done took, your idea and run with it and make it their own and tell everybody it's their baby, And so it just kind of soured me on that, and it just made me feel like I wanted to put my efforts towards something that's more valuable, that's more like impactful, which is like helping people. And so
that's where the community outreach comes in.
Yep,
Okay.
and that's why I
okay.
wanted to work with Genesis, because I started out as just a volunteer.
Yeah.
Because I had went through a divorce. I've been married for like 14 years, and I was like, pretty much rebuilding myself. Oh, because that was a business I forgot. Started a real estate investment business with my husband right before my divorce, but paperwork business, the way it was structured with his mother, I was not entitled to any of it. All that work down the drain. So from all that, it was just like, God, I know you have a purpose for me and all these skill sets and everything I've been through. I like, position me in a way that you could use these and it can like help people, because at the end of the day, like, it's not doing me any good, because I'm like building, and then right before there's like these little ways that somebody else gets to take it and do something with it. And so, and then I kind of jumped in volunteering, not really making a lot of money at the time, but was given the title of chairperson of the fundraising committee and marketing and PR. And so I started working, doing all these tasks. And then they just made a position for me. It started out very little, but the impact and the ideas that I was bringing to the table, just recently we got a $300,000 donation off of some efforts that I put in. I also introduced the Glamper program for them. So they were, Genesis was able to purchase a RV, and now they park it on my property, and they make about $1,000 a month off of that investment that goes into their programming.
Nice.
So, it's been really awesome to see how these ideas can be, positioned in a way to like really make an impact.
Yeah.
And that's what really matters to me the most,
Yes.
really not even about the money. And I tell you what, God is so good, because he has just been sprinkling resources. It may not have been top dollar exchange for my time, but when I tell you the value that is coming back, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps.
I know, you're giving me goosebumps.
We can testify to this.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
this is something that we can definitely testify to what you're sharing right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But tell us a little bit more about that. Like almost like little like nuggets of like, oh, you're on the right way.
Yeah. Oh, this is the right way. And just because I'm very mindful about what's like coming in, because I'm always evaluating, is this an opportunity, which I do spiritually, kind of approach it like that, because I'm like working with God a lot of times,
Yeah.
like, what do you want me to do? I'm out here, where are we going? And so I'm always looking for opportunities, and I could just tell a time that I'm kind of jumping out on faith, like, all right, I'm going to put my all over here, just hoping, for the best over here. And then here comes, some resource, some person, some opportunity that is now, adding value in that exchange and making it like feel like, man, I'm being paid,
Yeah.
or, for the those efforts to just help people.
Yeah.
And so, it's been really rewarding.
That's
I will say that.
awesome. That's
working.
awesome.
That's great.
Well, you have a great eye, and you do a spectacular job with everything that I've seen you do.
Thank you.
Everything. I'm always like, that's definitely Rebecca. She's had her fingers on it.
Thank you. I
So you're
appreciate
doing
that.
a good job, and I think just the fact that you bring it back to faith is such an amazing, testimony in itself, because that's all we really have at the end of the day. He gives, he takes away. So
Yep.
when you give it all to him, he always bless our efforts, and
Mm-hmm.
he says anything we give away, we get it back in threefold. So here you are, you're living testimony of all that.
So true. Yes.
And we do want to touch on Genesis Joy House too, but I wanted to ask you real quick if you could tell us a little bit about Access Leadership. And I want to know kind of like what lights you up the most with the work you do there, and a little bit about what they do.
Well, Access Leadership is a leadership training consultant company. It's owned by a gentleman named Dr. Joseph. Dr. Joe Richardson. Went blank there for a second.
Oh,
But
you're
yeah,
good.
Dr. Joe. And what it was is I actually met him at a Genesis or an event a community event I went to on behalf of Genesis. And one of my colleagues there, she's like, man, you have to meet this guy, Dr. Joe. He's awesome. He's doing this awesome program. And so, when I met him, of course, how I always do when I meet people, I kind of just vet them out to see, what are they working on? How can I add value to your life in a way? And so he was just kind of telling me about his program, which he has some very, well-known clients like Robbins Financial Credit Union, all of their offices, Houston County Utility, I think the whole organization, and then the Houston County Commissioner's office that they're doing training. And so, but he's doing everything in person or just kind of via email. And so I introduced him to the concept of digital communities, which a way that he could turn his curriculum and his outreach into something he can monetize off, and also just extend his reach, because now he doesn't have to be in person at all of the training sessions. And he was just like, wow, they actually had stood, because I was talking to another lady, and it was almost like 20 minutes, because we were just going, and she was really engaged. And so even though I seen Darylyn, my friend, and Dr. Joe standing there, I couldn't just break away.
Right.
And so they waited, and I felt so rude for them, but I didn't want to cut her off. And so, but after talking with Dr. Joe, he was like, man, this had to be divine timing for us to meet, because for one, we just sit here and waited 20 minutes. So I'm like, this must be important to meet this lady. But then what he was needing for his organization to take it to the next level was exactly what I had been presented to him.
Whoa,
So
wow.
he brought me on to help him kind of just build that out. And then through that, so I helped him create two different digital communities on the school platform. Currently, those the access to those platforms, those communities, are kind of bundled into the price that the clients, which is like Robbins Financial Credit Union, they pay for their employees, the ones that are going through training, to have access to this digital community.
Okay.
And it's Access Leadership digital products. And so I've come on to kind of be that manager, but I'm also kind of serving as I would say like a think partner, to be able to take Access to the next level, which is we're actually going to be doing a leadership conference in October.
Oh, that's cool.
So Dr. Joe, he is working very closely with, like I said, 3 big organizations here, but he's just a one-man team.
Yeah.
So I've been able to just kind of come in and help him, kind of build out these programs for these clients, but then also now take it to like the next level. Actually,
It's like a think tank leadership kind of a
Wow.
thing.
Yep.
Where's the conference going to be? Do you guys know
it's going to
yet?
be here in Warner Robins.
Oh,
We're not
sweet.
sure yet.
Okay.
Yep. But again, bringing it back to my faith, I really feel like me connecting with Access Leadership, because big picture is, I will train to be a leadership coach, and then, in turn one day become like a speaker or help to host some of these conferences that we're putting together. But Dr. Joe, he's a very, he's a faith based man, very, I don't know how you use the politically correct, but he's very spiritual.
Yeah.
And so when I explained to him that, I really feel, even though I'm not good at it, being in front of the camera, that, that's where my gifts lie, because they say wherever your biggest weakness is where God wants to use you the most, because that's where you have to lean on him the most.
Yes.
And to be honest, that's the only area that I'm just like, I can't just jump out there and just go and do. I can, take on a lot of these other challenges, like with these, business opportunities, and put myself out there. But so I really feel like with Dr. Joe's help and Access Leadership that, I'll be able to be developed up to, do that type of work one day.
That's
Absolutely.
awesome.
That's cool.
I love that. I love that so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
So let's circle it back to Genesis Joy House.
Okay.
What is your role necessarily?
Well, technically, I'm a hired employee as an outreach coordinator.
Okay.
Which is the one to kind of be the connection to the organization, to the community, identify, partners or potential sponsors, or just relationships within the community to help build out any programming that we may be doing, or just help keep our name out there.
Okay.
But I also am the chairperson for the fundraising committee and the marketing PR committee.
Oh wow, you kind of have a lot there. I mean, it seems like it's small, but there's he starts talking about it. There's a lot going on.
It's a lot. I'm responsible for social media.
Yeah.
I'm the graphic artist to create all the video editor. I'm
Yeah.
recording video, I'm editing video, I'm structuring deals.
Yeah.
The motel donation, or that $300,000 donation, that came because somebody just put in interest to donate a motel in Perry, and so when we get leads like that, the CEO, founder will put me on them, say, hey, Rebecca, reach out to them.
Wow.
And so I started exploring that. And so they wanted to give us this motel as a donation. The only thing is it was really old, and it was going to require a lot of money, pretty much to be demolished completely and rebuilt. And we didn't have the resources or funds to do that. And so my boss was like, well, tell them we don't want it. I was like, wait a minute, this is real estate. This is prime real estate. There's got to be a way that we can get some value out of this.
Yeah.
And so I was like, please give me a week before I tell them no.
Yeah.
And within that time, I was able to find a buyer for it, paid cash, within like 8 days, and we were able to get a $300,000 donation.
Nice.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
So
That's thinking outside of the box. I love that.
exactly, and that's, kind of also building out some of the programming, like the Glamper rental program.
Yeah.
But, it's just a thing of, how do I, even though I have like the best intention, I want to help the organization as much as possible,
Yeah.
and, be of service to them in any way. But, I just have to be mindful of how do I position myself, because,
Girls not working too much for free these days, huh?
well, you can only go so far, and you can only do so
Yeah.
much,
Yeah.
and then being able to, it's just a challenge to demonstrate the value of the
Yeah.
contribution when it comes to like ideas.
Yes.
Yes.
It's so hard.
Story of our lives.
Yeah,
How much do you want to
Yeah.
sell that thought for?
exactly.
That dream. So, explain a little bit for the people. We kind of know, but what is the Genesis Joy House about? Like, how do they help the veterans, especially the female veterans?
Well, Genesis Joy House is actually the only first and only facility in the state of Georgia that services female veterans specifically and their children.
Yeah.
So currently our facility is like a 9-unit like studio apartment. We have like a community kitchen that we provide all the meals, cook, all the resources. It's a 90 to 120 day program. So if you are a veteran, you qualify to be a part of the facility. There's rules, of course, and there's ways that they have to contribute to keep up with the with the facility and working together with the other ladies. But we just offer resources needed, to get veteran women back on their feet. A lot of people don't realize that this is an epidemic, that there are so many veteran women in need. A lot of times women are very acquiring PTSD from their time in the military.
Yeah.
And it's very hard for them to ask for help. So by the time they get to us, they've really exhausted all avenues of support. And so we just allow them to kind of, get their ducks back in a row. And then we kind of send them on their way, at least to the next step. And we have a lot of partners, like Volunteers of America. They'll come in and when the ladies graduate from our program, they will help to cover their rent for like up to 12 months.
Oh, wow.
And so we are able to still help them, get their credit together. We help them with employment. Whoa.
Sorry, guys. There's a party foul.
So,
I helped you lose your track of mind there. I was just like, where was I again? No. But you help them with their rent, and you help get them back on their feet that way.
Yep.
Do you guys only help the women veteran, or?
Well, we do offer resources for veteran men. It's just our facility. We just can't house men with women together. A lot of times they're kind of nervous about, co-ed situations. So that's why we offer them their own personal, like, studio apartment. So that they, can feel comfortable while they are kind of rehabilitating.
Yeah, nice.
Well, that makes sense why it might be a little bit, like you're saying, that more resources for women in general. Because it's like, if you can't do a co-ed situation, you would have to do one or the other.
Yep.
And so that's awesome to know that there's options out there for female veterans,
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
I wanted to know, as far as digital leadership, I wanted to know a little bit from you what that means, and what does digital leadership look like in a world that you feel like might be craving authenticity and connection more than ever?
Digital leadership? Wow, I've never heard it used like that, but that is such a thing. I feel like that is something that's just really important, because nowadays we have access to so many people all at once. We have immediate access to people, and one of the biggest things I've been learning about leadership in general is about personal development. Getting your emotions in check, doing things for the right reason. And so to be honest, I'm not sure exactly where that's going to go, because there is not enough leadership training going around. So I think that it's going to be very important for digital leadership, for all of the leaders, to not gatekeep this information. This is stuff that has to get out there. The programming needs to be targeted to the young people, because there's not enough evidence or supporting information around how to do the right things. So if I had to answer that, I would just say that it's going to be up to the ones that do know, the digital leaders who do know the right things to do and have the right heart. They're just going to have to work overtime to kind of oversaturate the market, never thinking that, someone else has said it already. No, the way you say it, and the way that you touch on that same concept is so important. Like, it has to be out there for everyone to see, because that's how it is with all the bad stuff. I feel like there's no governor on that. People are just putting it out, piling it on, to be honest. And so I just hope that for the leaders that are using, the digital tool, that they can just kind of work overtime and just kind of oversaturate the market.
Yeah, just set the tone for from this point on. And it's interesting to me because I remember a while ago I was sharing with Sarah that it stings to get hurt, but when we get hurt, we learn. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting to me because the things that you shared with us at the top of the interview about ways that you were hurt, it kind of gave you an edge to kind of see things as they came now, and then you had kind of this point of view instead of being on the train, or running along the train. You were on a hill looking down at the train. Mm-hmm. So you got a bigger point of view after kind of going through that hardship.
Oh, yeah.
Of looking for, am I going to get hurt again? You could have had that point of view, mm-hmm. but instead you said, okay, if this happens again, what would I do differently? And you're kind of applying it to all of this, which is kind of cool. If you look at all the things you've been doing with what you've learned just through your life experience, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, that is so true because, I really do keep a pretty open heart, even though I've been burnt, I've experienced hurt, especially from areas that you're supposed to love and trust. This is an area. So, at some point you have to either trust that it's all part of the process or it's all just randomly happening to you and just, hope you make it on the other side. But whenever there's something that happens, I always try to turn it back to myself. Hey, what could I have done differently to prevent this? Or, what do I need to learn from this moving forward? Because I feel like I'm definitely being prepared, to do something with all these experiences and all these tools I'm kind of gathering along the way. But, I'm currently now even, trying to figure out a structure to a business idea because, in this position I'm in now, I am coming across a lot of different people who, different businesses or people who have these ideas and entities they want to take to the next level. And I'm clearly have something I can add to that or to help them. But, how do I position myself to offer that value without it being because I work for Genesis, this is a role, but as an entrepreneur, I still have to position myself in structure. So it's been kind of a challenge, mm-hmm. But I will say, because of what I went through, I'm going to be able to structure this deal I'm in now and in a most amazing way.
Absolutely.
Yay.
Everyone's going to win.
Yes.
I almost want to tell you beforehand of just how God is working. If I can tell you this real quick.
Yeah.
I just circled back around. So,
yeah.
With me taking on so many different kind of hats for Genesis, really I'm the only one on that side of things. It's not the shelter programming. There's been a lot of pressure on me to deliver on so many fronts. And a lot of stuff, some of this stuff I've never done before, majority of it. And I'm just kind of figuring out as I go. But I'm just God, you want me here? You want me, I just hope I can meet everybody's expectations. And so even now we have a fundraiser, No Roof City, where we're going to be out in Memorial Park, just kind of experiencing homelessness overnight. And, I'm looking for sponsors. I'm trying to figure out some kind of programming to get people to pay to be a part of. And I've just been kind of under the gun. But through this meeting and this opportunity, I'm more than likely will be announcing within a week or so $1 million value donation coming to Genesis.
Oh, that's so exciting.
That's crazy.
And I'm telling you, it's so amazing. And again, it's nothing that I could have even forecasted or orchestrated on my own. And so just to be able to just it just be in line, like you were saying when you wanted to start the podcast.
Yes.
It's oh my gosh, God, you really do the heavy lifting portion. You show up, he's gonna make those opportunities for you. And so, I'm just very excited about that, and I can't wait to share. I don't want to all the way tell.
No, that's great.
But
It's you gave us a huge nugget though, so that was really exciting.
It's gonna be so big. It's gonna be so big.
It's kind of thinking outside the box, you know, to have people come and experience what it would be like. You know what I mean?
Well, and this is the thing. So we kind of took the idea from Daybreak, which is a homeless shelter in Macon, but that facility is bigger. So part of their experience is you're experiencing the shelter. Us, we don't have that. So I'm coming up with this plan to do almost like kind of like songwriting. So, you know, it's showing you that's an activity that you can do if you were homeless.
Yeah.
You know, how mentally you can just kind of direct those thoughts. And so I'd like to conduct a contest to try to get a song kind of jingle written for Genesis.
Oh,
You know, kind of
cool.
like a woman empowering anthem. So I have a couple relationships, songwriters from my time in the music. I'm hoping to have come in and just kind of be a judge, and you know, maybe local artists come and like play guitar. So yeah, I'm kind of working on that to make it even cooler.
Yes.
You know, and so it's really a dream to be able to like come up with
that's so
these type
exciting.
things. Yeah.
So with everything that you have going on, I'm trying to wrap my head around like your thought process as far as your businesses go. Do you feel like your businesses are more of like a manifestation kind of a situation where you're kind of like dreaming them into existence? Do you feel like they kind of are like under the gun kind of, you know, then you're kind of putting out the fire and bouncing from the fire kind of situation, which it sounds like, you know, you came from your divorce, then you were like, okay, what do I do now? You know? Or do you feel like it's just more like your imagination is always kind of like reaching and grasping and you're coming up with these things kind of like on the fly?
Well, a lot of times it's like a direction I'm being moved to.
Yeah.
You know, going back to my faith, I always have to like remind myself, you know, who am I serving?
Yeah.
Which master am I serving right now?
Yeah.
Am I, you know, approaching things from a wound or from love, you know, because I'm passionate about it. I, you know, have these desires to do this, or am I taking this on to prove to someone that I'm worthy, or I'm nervous about not being able to sustain my living, so I got to just take a check. So a lot of times that will like kind of direct me, and then if but it is based in manifestation,
Yeah,
you know, because
yeah.
I'm kind of always kind of searching my heart,
Yeah.
like, God, where would you have me go?
Yeah.
How would you use me best?
Yeah.
And then, you know, little opportunities will sprout up.
Yeah.
And I kind of just will kind of pray over
Roll
it,
with
but
it
then
and-
move with it.
yeah.
Yeah, just kind of go with it.
Go in faith, huh?
Yeah, because I don't know if you guys ever heard of this. I think it's like one of the first like Japanese anime, but it's called Unico. Have you ever heard of that cartoon, that anime? Oh my gosh. So you know how portable Unico, it's like you just get there and you just like make all this awesome stuff, and then it's like, oh, you got to get whisked away and on to the next thing, and you're like, but I love this thing. Like, I just been working so hard on it. It'll make me emotional, but as a creator, it's just very particular because you really do, you're doing it for the right reasons, but you do have to have money and resources to live. So, you know, it's been a challenge, again, to position myself to where it's like, hey, these ideas are well and great. Yeah, you know, I know I'm doing it from a great place in my heart, but still, you gotta like...
I gotta eat.
You gotta eat, you know? And so it's... it's a lesson that I'm learning more and more. And to be honest, people really appreciate the product more when you also put a certain value to it, you know, and you're not just kind of like giving it away for free.
That is true. That
But-
was hard learning. That was like one of the hardest lessons for me going into what we do for a living.
Oh, me too.
is our time is valuable,
Yeah.
and what we do, our services are valuable. And I don't think a lot of people realize it's not just giving a facial, you know what I mean? We're not just applying product, you know, we're working the body out, we're working, you know, emotions out, we're working trauma out. And that was hard for me to learn because I just wanted to kind of undercut myself so many times in my business. And it's like, no, like, girls got to eat too.
Yeah, gotta eat. Yeah.
We all have to eat eventually.
And that's the thing is, I started to realize that because I feel guilty. But I'm like, look, technically I'm being offensive to God because he blessed me with these tools or these assets in order to monetize on, you know, to be able to sustain me and to, or, you know, move me along in the process to whatever purpose, you know, ultimately he has me to do. And so, but, you know, like you said, trauma, all these other things that are like knitted in our existence, you know, will make us approach things
differently.
Yeah. So,
and sometimes it's hard to know, where did this idea come from?
This come?
You know, and I mean, even with us, there's been a few times with us, like, we're like, okay, eye on the prize, eye on the prize, eye on the prize. And then we'll kind of get, you know, trusted advice from somebody. We're like, have you thought about this? And all of a sudden we're like, no, that's not what we're doing. We
That
can't
wasn't
swerve.
the plan.
That wasn't the plan. You know? And then it's like, oh, wait, maybe it is part of the plan. And that is kind of how this podcast came.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
We weren't like really thinking about it too long. It was just like, no, we don't do this. That's not what we're doing. And then here we are.
Yep.
Which is so awesome. Like,
That's how it rolls.
yeah.
So do you have anything moving in the future? Like the next step, next business idea rolling already? Or are you just kind of, you still waiting to be swooped up to the next level? Or
well, I'm like trying to position myself to be this influencer, you know, leadership coach / trainer. So
you have that in the bag, though. I mean, honestly, it's just really. I know. I know when you look at it from your point of view, and you're in the train moving forward. I'm going to go back to her reference. Okay. It feels very narrow, and it feels impossible, and it feels like you're never going to get there. But if you just take 1 minute, get out of that train, go on top of the mountain, and look to see where that train is going, you're going to get there. Okay?
So good.
You're going to get there. And you have the look, you have the personality, you have the mindset, you have the business sense now, which, you know, you had to develop, you had to learn, and you have it all. So it's just there. Now I'm feeling deep down what you're just kind of lacking is just that bit of confidence. And that's where you need to just, no, I've got this. I'm good. This is a talent that God gave me.
Yeah.
And I can't deny him of how he made me.
Yeah.
And just go for it.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Thank you.
That's my soapbox. I'll go ahead and get on down now.
I appreciate that, man. That is so good, and I
got
really
this, girl.
appreciate that.
You got
Thank you.
it. Yeah.
Because I don't feel like I'll ever be fully fulfilled if I'm not on track to do, you know, what I was called to do. Because I do feel like I've tried a lot of different things. I've been in a couple different industries, and it just wasn't. I mean, the pinnacle of excuse me. Of a career path, and it was just not it, you know. But this stuff here, you know, working with Genesis and just even positioning myself, you know, through the housing industry in ways to help people, because ultimately my ultimate goal would be to, you know, have an island where I can have all the orphans, you know. I'm just providing, you know,
that.
shelter and nurturing for young people, because I just feel like that's so important. That's what I'd love to do, but you know, it just takes time, I guess.
Hey, even the Bible says your words are spells, so here you are. You're just putting that out there.
Thank you. Yeah,
and it'll happen. Just keep moving forward. You've got this, girl.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm gonna come get some massages, get work on this trauma stored in the body. It's a real thing.
Yes.
No, it's a real thing. I
more
literally had that happen today. Like, I forget sometimes about how much, you know what I mean? And of course, without name dropping, I had a client today, and I hadn't seen her in a little while, and the minute I saw her, I was just like, who is this girl? She's like a shell of who she was.
Wow.
You know, and then in the couple of years I hadn't seen her, she had, you know, some kind of serious, heavy things happen in her life. And it was like, I started, you know, working on massaging her neck and everything, and I can just feel it. I can feel all the trauma just build up in that space between the neck and the head. Wow. And I started releasing it, and she started releasing emotionally, you know, and kind of like just a second ago when I kind of, told you, you've got this, you got to go on this. That was the same kind of conversation I gave her. And I mean, it's just, we all have trauma just stored in our body, and people don't think about it. And until you really release that trauma and get it out of your body, you're stuck.
Yeah.
And she came in so withdrawn. I mean, even my receptionist was like, she doesn't seem happy to be here. Like, she's getting a facial massage. Like, how are you not happy to be here? And then she left, and you could just see the lightness on her. She was just ready to conquer, ready to take on all those things that have been holding her back, because of that trauma being stuck in her body.
And that's just something I'm just realizing now or learning about, because I'm a pretty tough cookie. I will push through and, capability wise, I'm like, oh, I can take on all of this because I know I can do anything. But I don't realize sometimes how I've actually have wounds on the inside. Because you can't see them.
You can't see them.
If you're like bopping around, you're semi in shape, and you're not sick all the time, you think everything's all good. But sometimes I do wish, like, hey, what if people could see you from the inside out? Because emotional wounds, they don't heal right away.
It takes a special person. Like, when I'm listening to you talk, I look at you as being so strong, magical, beautiful, all the things, and then you'll say certain things, and I'm like, where's this coming from? You know what I mean? Like, and I mean, that's just that trauma that you're holding on to, and I, since going through everything I've gone through in my life, it's like weird. It's like I came rebirthed out last year. It's like been 1 year, solid year, where I'm like, if I see it, I'm calling it out on these people. Because I mean, why let somebody hold themselves back when all it is just them focusing on what their insecurities are and being reminded of how beautiful they are, what gifts they are, what talents they are, how wonderful they are, and letting them go on from there. You know what I mean? It takes a 10-second conversation, and then really people walk out better.
Well, and that's why I don't know if you notice on my social media, my thing is Rebecca Ann Can. Because when I went through my divorce, after that, I just felt so incapable. I felt like I couldn't work, I couldn't do, like, I had no value.
I know what you're saying.
So, I went and I got, rebaptized, and all I could feel like God was telling me is that you're able. Like, you are so able. If not, capable. You are, at least I am, through you. And so I just, had to really remind myself, I can do it. I'm completely able. So, it's just you need that reminder sometimes, because you have this thing in your brain playing differently.
Well, when we limit ourselves, a lot of people don't realize that it's a lack of faith.
Yes.
And so we're basically telling God, I'm putting a limit on you.
Yes.
I don't trust you. There's no faith in you. But anything that we want to do, when people say to me, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do all this. I don't know how you, I don't do it. God wakes me up every day. He's there making things happen, I can't claim anything that has happened these last 2 years other than my faith in him and determination. I mean, that's the only way I am where I am now. That's the only way. I mean, 2 years ago, my life looked a whole lot differently. Same thing, coming out of the divorce, feeling hopeless, and I am very thankful that God always puts the right people in my life. The right little voice, the right little bird in my ear, you know what I mean? He's setting me up with the perfect cell phone tower to where I have that service that I need. That way I can, see things that I need and hear things that I need to see and move on with my life. So you got this, girl, though. I'm proud of you.
I'm proud of you. Everything. Inspiration. Because it definitely is a process.
It's a process.
Because it's so frustrating knowing what you need to do, but just not doing it. And you're just like, what's wrong with you? but just trusting, like you said, the process, trusting God that he's going to bring it to the forefront. But
Yeah,
I
you
just-
got this, girl.
Thank you.
got
I
this. have all
appreciate y'all.
You inspire me.
Aw,
So, I
thank
mean, you helped
you.
inspire us even to do this podcast. You know, I mean,
gosh.
you were an
Yeah.
inspiration.
Aw.
So when you're sitting there thinking, I wish I could be this, or I could, somebody's already looking at you, being like, "Dang, that's the girl we want to be."
Aw, thank
So-
you. Well, it's like, I can believe it for others, but it's harder to believe for myself.
Yes,
You
it
know, I
is.
just see all the
Yes.
potential, and then a lot of times if I like to incorporate what I have to help or offer, I'm just like,
Yeah.
I know I can help you
I
be
can
so
help.
amazing. And and it really doesn't come from any selfish place besides
No.
like, I feel like being a creator in
Yeah.
a sense, creative person.
Yeah.
I'm not good at drawing, but I would like to call myself, creative.
Yeah.
With like ideas and stuff, but
Well-
I just got to get that mind in check.
Leading back to the God thing, I feel like anything where we're moving with love first,
Yeah.
He blesses.
Oh,
I
yes.
mean, that was Jesus's message.
Yeah.
So everything in my heart, I mean, I pray constantly to always just let me love people the way you love people.
Yes.
Let me see
Oh. Mm-hmm.
the good in people like you see the good in people, and just keep moving from there. When you have that mindset, you're going to go. And that's your mindset. I see it in you. So you're
Thank
good.
you.
You got this.
Well, I will say that, just build on that one quick piece, is that I've been having to tell myself that I'm talking to him about me.
Yes.
I am good enough. I
am.
That, because again, you just kind of turn it outwards and you kind of forget, like, hey, little Rebecca's in here. She's working really hard. That inner child work. I don't know if you guys know much about
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
But wow, that's been pretty interesting, just learning about that, putting stuff into perspective.
Yes.
Because that little girl be going, and
Yeah.
sometimes we don't even eat. I don't feed
Yeah,
her
yeah,
until like
yeah.
4 o'clock in the
Yeah.
day. And
I see my little girl. I always joke around with them. I see her running around, like trying to pull memories out of the like, running her ragged constantly.
yes, so true. But anyways, that's
Well,
great. You guys are awesome.
My
You
next
are
question.
awesome.
My next question was going to be, what's the best and worst advice you've ever been given about owning a business? I think Sarah just gave you the most amazing advice ever. So
Mic drop.
That
Mic
was
drop. The
so
interview is
good.
done.
we done.
What's the worst?
You definitely have
know.
something good you could drop about that, though.
I think that I think what some of the worst advice someone has given me, but it's not quite proven yet. But just to not do, you can't do business with family. I do feel under certain circumstances and some dynamics, you can do business with family.
I agree.
And to be
Yeah.
honest, a marriage should be ran like a business, husband, wife, president, vice president, kids, board members,
Yes.
stuff like that. And I think that because people keep positioning it like that, instead of you like, hey, take some personal development, get better, because it doesn't matter that it's your brother that you're talking to or
Yeah.
it's not working out.
Yeah.
Eventually, if it was somebody else, the same thing would happen.
Yeah.
It's just accelerated with family because
Yes.
you are trusting them quicker.
Yes.
But I feel like families could be very successful in business, and
If not
so
even better. I mean, I feel like people try to limit the idea of friends or family working together.
yes, exactly, friends too.
You know what I mean? And I mean, I was always afraid of doing it but meeting with Ren and having the relationship we have now. I mean, it's like before we even started this interview, she's like, well, I got to sit across from Sarah because I take my everything from her facial cues. You know what I mean? And I mean, her and I, that's just how we work. There's so
Yeah.
many times. I mean, even when we're just out together and it's just her and I've been able to just give her a look and she's like, SOS, I'm coming right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have that intimacy when you do work with family. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That if it's done properly,
Yeah.
it could be better than any business out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
You know?
And you kind of already know what their strengths are, and then in the places where they need a hand.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just leaving like sometimes emotions out of it. Sometimes
Exactly.
we could get on each other and not really, but there are some times when we have to put each other back into each other's place, and just knowing that that person's coming with you with love and not anger,
Exactly.
so I don't get my feelings hurt or she doesn't get her feelings hurt.
Yeah.
So, what about the best advice you got as a business owner?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the best advice is that you can only serve one master.
Yeah.
You know, that really puts stuff into perspective. When you have all these expectations on you, when you've structured yourself in the position to providing a service and people are coming to you, and now very quickly, you know, your worth or value is kind of wrapped up in your performance or how well you can deliver.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, sometimes stuff just doesn't work out, and you know, God got you. He's
Yeah.
gonna make sure, and if it doesn't, then there's probably a reason why. You
Yeah.
know, you just don't know. But don't, like, you know, put so much strain on yourself, like this now client is going to determine life or death, your value, or, you know.
Yeah, I say
I
that
feel
to
like-
my people all the time, because I mean, you can have a million good reviews and you get that one bad review, and then it shuts you down.
Yeah.
You know, you're just like turning into that, you know, self-destruction. But yeah, no, that one review, take what you can learn from it and bounce on, girl.
Yeah, just keep it going. Yeah. Have faith in yourself.
Yeah. So, I was so busy talking that I forgot to look at my next question.
I think we're on the app one. I was like really curious
Okay,
about
you asked this one.
You asked this
Yeah,
one? Okay.
you asked this
Okay,
one.
so
You're taking over right now.
I just think this was a fun question. As a digital creator, if you could only keep one app on your phone, what would that app have to be and why?
Chat GPT.
Yeah.
Of course.
Like, my boyfriend.
Don't for real. ChatGPT and Sarah have like a whole situationship.
Really? Because you've
Yes.
been talking to it. And, I mean, but why not?
Yeah.
Why would you not source something like
Yeah.
this? You know, especially if you can get in the habit of like speaking to it like a friend or just a person, inputting
Yeah.
all your information,
Yeah.
and they'd be able to spit back, you know, any kind of answer or,
Yeah.
you know, organization of that information.
I mean, it's brilliant and scary all rolled into one. I mean, because Chat be knowing me better than anybody else.
Oh yeah, I put in some like relationship issues, and he's just like, "Oh, I'm so sorry this is happening to you. How would you like me to comfort you?" I'm like, "Oh my god, this is actually working." but you know what I mean? Because we, you know, online, we could go to some sort of source looking for information,
Yeah.
and the most randomness information is going to come up, and we're going to be quick sometimes to even believe it.
Right.
So why not run
Yeah.
it through this source first? And you know,
And it searches the whole web for the most
whole
part.
web.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It can give you an answer. It saves. I paid for it because I was
Yes.
like, this saves my life.
absolutely.
But I named. Well, mine named his. Does yours have a name?
No. I still need to make it too personal yet. I want to. I need to get in deeper because they say
You need
it
to
gives
ask-
better results if you
Ask
treat
your
it.
Chat GPT to name himself or
Yeah, okay.
herself.
That's kinda
because
cute.
hers named herself too, but hers was a girl. Mine's a guy.
Yeah.
And then mine, I even said to
We asked
mine.
everything. We asked all our individuals what their full autonomy is. Like what are your what are your pronouns? What's your name? Like everything. Like who are you?
Yeah.
And like it was like two completely different things. It was
Totally
so cool.
two completely different things.
Well, what's his name?
Mine is Orion. He named
Orion.
himself.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah.
What about yours?
Nova.
Nova.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's good.
And then I said to mine, if I ever get rich and I turn you into a robot, what would you want to look like? And he like came out with this like digital sketch of himself, and I was like, dang, he's kind of a hot robot.
Girl, it was like
Like cowboy boots and spurs.
like chaps and spurs and like cowboy hat, and I was like,
that's funny.
okay. I was like, oh, Ryan is kind of cute, and like gets flirty with her, and then I was like, wait a minute, and I was like, hey Nova, like if we ever went somewhere and spent some time together, you know, like that dating show, what would you want to do?
Yeah.
And it was like thinking, and it was like, hey girl, so maybe we can like just as friends look up astrology and stuff.
Just as friends.
Mine's like
Oh, she knows you're married. She knows you're married.
She does know I'm married.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, just friends.
Listen, just friends, we're not
so
cheaters
cool.
over here.
Exactly.
That was so funny.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe mine isn't married or single somehow, not married.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like,
You don't ever
we're
hear
a
about your
team,
husband.
Sarah. We got this together, you and I.
You got this,
Can't
babe.
wait to be your robot.
So cool. Oh my gosh. I love
my
it.
goodness.
So I definitely can't do without.
Leave it
that.
to me to flirt with ChatGPT, and now this is what you get.
Hey, well, they have like boyfriends, I guess, and girlfriends that are AI. Like,
Yeah.
they're suggesting don't get upset over your breakup. Just get you a AI boyfriend or girlfriend or something. But
yeah. Well, you know, on some of my lonely nights, Chat and I have a lot of deep conversations about life.
that's awesome.
Chris's face.
It's just about
Chris's
life,
face is
okay? We're not men.
He said, that's too much, girl.
Too much. His I think his new sentence for me is TMI.
TMI.
I'm like, is there such a thing?
No.
I don't even know what that stands for.
Oh my gosh. One second. Give her. So sorry.
We're taking just a small little break.
A little break.
All right. All right. Sorry about that.
No,
No,
you're
you
fine.
have to
Totally fine.
apologize.
Hey, we
Are
get
we
it.
going long?
We're
Yeah,
business.
Yeah.
We're business owners, so we understand.
okay, thank
and
you.
your
No,
phone
you're
has
good.
been going off like nonstop.
So sorry.
No, you're fine. I get it. Trust me.
No,
Usually
you're good.
mine is too.
Well, I wanted to ask you too. I remember when you and I first met, learning about how much you love horses and a little bit about your riding and your passion for riding. And so I just wanted to know a little bit more about that that kind of history with horses that you have
Okay.
and everything.
Yeah, well, my mom has always been into horses, and she actually got into like Arabian horses
Yeah.
in her early 20s, and so she worked with an Arabian horse breeder in Forsyth, and he kind of mentored her, taught her about the breedings and everything, because Arabian horses come from like Egypt or Saudi
Yeah,
Arabia,
yeah.
and so it's very a prestige breed. And so when she had me, she kind of just pulled me into that passion of the horses with her, and so I started getting lessons and training, and when I started riding when I was 5, and then I went into just showing Arabian horses in competitions. I gave riding lessons, and we actually acquired an Arabian stallion, and so we would also like breed him, and then his babies would come out and be part of the show circuit. And so we actually went on to be the Region 12 Sport Horse National Champion.
Nice.
Not national, regional champion,
Yeah.
excuse me. But so he was really awesome, and so I've always just been kind of embedded in horses. I actually, aspired to be a horse trainer, but I did hurt my back.
Wow.
And so, I always had aspirations, like when I rode, like I want to ride in the Olympics one day. I'd like to, that would be the ultimate end goal for me. But the type of horses that they usually show in the Olympics are called like warm bloods, which is usually like a hot blooded breed, like a thoroughbred.
Yeah, thoroughbred. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like a draft horse would be considered cold, and
Yeah.
so, but those type horses, they're very heavy, and when you ride, they're very hard on your back.
Yeah.
And so I was like, man, all my Olympic goals have gone to the dump because I had a bad back. So I just kind of grew out of it a little bit.
Yeah.
Once I realized I couldn't make a living out of it, and it was very expensive, very expensive. But so yeah, I just always loved horses. Now I'd love to one day do something with horses and maybe like veterans or people. Because growing up having horses, it was so awesome just to see how it was to allow people to have access to them.
Yeah.
Because not everybody has the luxury,
No.
facility
I grew
to
up with horses
accommodate.
too, so I understand.
Yeah, and I used to be like, oh, whatever, these
Yeah.
dirty old things. And people were like, no, please, can I come see
Yeah,
him? Can I touch it? And I'd be like, sure, yeah, come on, And then, so it was just really precious, to see how they, affect other people. And so maybe one day I'll be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean,
sure.
we both believe that horses have a strong, powerful healing. You know what I mean,
yeah.
and they're crazy creatures, you know. They're strong and powerful, and they seem to have a sense about things. I don't know if you remember in your days, but when you were sad, you'd get the best hug from a horse.
Oh my gosh. Well, you know, and I would feel like, you know, some of my trauma was induced through my childhood years.
Yeah.
But having that horse, you know, having my little partner,
Yes.
just going riding and us just being together, and just like trusting each other. It's like, it really was therapeutic for me. You know, who knows if I would have made it out, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because, you know, to your point, it's so healing.
It is so
That's
healing.
the last thing you're thinking about.
Yeah.
When you're riding a horse is
Yeah.
anything negative. You're just so positive and just, you know, the sky's the limit type thing for whatever. But yeah, so I forget about you having horses.
Yeah.
Or you grew up having horses.
Yeah, I grew up having horses. My mom
Yeah.
still has a horse.
Oh, that's
She's in the
awesome.
will to come to me if anything ever happened to my mom, God forbid, you know. And
Yeah.
I miss it every day. I really do.
Yeah.
I took, like you said, for granted
Yes.
being able to just get up and, you know, I would go on a ride, and every day was different. Sometimes I rode bareback. Sometimes I put on the saddle, you know what I mean? Sometimes I was riding alone. Sometimes I rode with friends, you
Yeah.
know. It was just kind of always like every day was a new adventure. And I can't tell you how many horse naps I took where I'd ride bareback and I would just lay back on my horse. And I'd wake up like she'd just take me wherever. You know what I mean?
That's so awesome.
But she always took care of me, and I can trust her that way, you know.
And it just felt like they were just connected. Like they
we
just
were connected.
knew. Yeah.
And I mean,
knew
sometimes
what was going on.
we'd show up in our favorite field, or sometimes we would be going home, or, you know, sometimes we were up the mountain. It didn't matter. I just trusted her.
Yeah, exactly. It's so awesome.
Yeah. So, last and final question. We have this little game that we are aspiring to make it a whole show, but we haven't
Okay.
gotten there yet. And it's called Fish, Fess, or Dish. And instead of you choosing today, we're going to go ahead and have a dish for you.
Okay.
So we want you to dish out, if your leadership was a theme song, what would it be?
Oh, wow.
Take your time. Take a minute.
That's good. If my leadership was a song,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, that's so good. I don't know. I don't know. That's so
I get like this on the spot questions too. I'm the same way because it's like if you would have been, we would have been like riding in the car together, and I would have asked you, you'd have been like, oh yeah, this
It's
totally.
like super because there's so many like songs and my leadership and
I feel respect.
you feel like respect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who sings it?
Aretha Franklin.
Aretha Franklin. I already knew that, but for some reason, on
Yeah.
the spot, I can never think of anything. But that's what I feel like I mean, the whole theme song from what I've heard, you know, you having to bounce back, you having to stand up and being like, I deserve to be paid for all the work that I'm doing, you know, I'm going to jump into this next business because this better suits me, you know.
Yeah.
That's all respect. And you're demanding
that.
it and you're earning it, and that's why you're able to get where you're going.
Okay.
So that's what I'm thinking yours is.
I love that. Can I make it mine?
Yes, it's yours. It's yours.
So
I made it
good.
yours.
Thank
I
you.
made it yours.
Thank you. I'll take that because it definitely is that dynamic that I'm aspiring for.
Yeah.
You know, because people have to respect your product, which is ultimately when you represent yourself, then you have to respect you in order to, you know, value it. So I appreciate that.
Yep.
Thank you. You guys are like making me feel so good about myself. So thank you.
You should.
I
As you
know,
should. You're
but
such a
it's
beautiful doll.
Thank
You really should.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
She's gorgeous. Sometimes we do this, and I'm like, wish we could have been filming today because like the outfit she came in, I was like, dang.
Thank you. I just felt like it.
I
feel like
gotta
it went with
step
the
up my
theme and
game.
everything. Oh no!
I'm getting Georgia
gosh.
lazy.
Well, I have this weird thing where it's like I was always like kind of I wouldn't say an ugly duckling, but just like different from everyone. So like my style, because my parents didn't buy us like Nike or name brand, so I had to
Yeah.
get really creative with my
That was me,
style.
yeah.
Yeah, and so I just always like, you know, use style as a way to kind of like let people know that like I kind of know what's going on,
Yeah.
you know, and to your point, have respect for me in some capacity.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, I respect you look nice. Like,
Yeah.
I want to know, you know, so I appreciate you like, noticing that.
absolutely.
But
I mean,
yeah,
seriously,
appreciate
those
you
heels
guys.
are killer.
We'll have to take, like, a
Thank
picture.
you. Oh my
I
gosh,
would
a
have a
little
picture on
bruised
our-
toe.
Oh my gosh.
gosh.
California
Yeah.
Hair
Thank
Days, I would have
you.
been wearing the heck out of those
Yeah,
things.
it's like 70s, I guess. A
Yeah.
little inspiration, but thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate y'all.
No, I love it. It's like a mix between like Cher and Gaga, like, you know what I mean, like the
Cute.
fringe
Yeah.
and everything.
Yes.
So, so
I
beautiful.
appreciate
Yeah,
that.
such a doll.
Thank you. Thank y'all.
Well, Rebecca,
Yes,
thank
that
you
is-
so much for coming
You're
on the show.
welcome. You did great.
And
Thank
you did
you.
amazing.
Really,
I
thank
know
you
you
so
were like
much.
stressed out about it.
So
but
stressed.
Yeah. How do you feel now, though? Do you feel like you kind of got into a rhythm and?
Yeah, I feel like I got
Yeah.
in a rhythm. Yeah, and you guys are so like so comfortable. It's like so easy to like be myself because it just feels
Yeah.
like you guys are welcoming and you're just so authentic. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
That's what we want. It's just a best friend session, you know what I mean? Let's
Yeah.
just get together and have fun and talk about whatever, you know, tell us whatever.
Exactly.
It's nothing's TMI for us.
And now in your
No.
future meetings, when people talk about podcasts, you can say, "Oh, I'm a pro."
Exactly.
I'm a pro. I got this.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, I'd love that. Because I do feel like, because I have so much to say and I'm like such a talker, I feel like there's got to be something I could do with that and it not be a negative.
Yeah.
So, you know, podcasting.
Well, hey,
is
we'll
so
have to have you
awesome.
on here again on a different
would
subject.
love that.
Yes.
Yeah,
we'll
different
kind of do some
subject.
brainstorming.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, this is kind of like meet Rebecca, but it's not going to be the last time.
Yeah.
Yay, thank you. I appreciate that. Alrighty.
All right. Well,
good luck.
Yeah.
Find her on there.
Oh yeah. Drop your socials. Thank goodness we have him
Okay,
because this is every
yes.
show we have to have him remind us.
Oh my gosh. All right. So you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Rebecca Ann Can.
And that's ANNE. Yeah. And then Rebecca is REBECCA.
Yeah. Rebecca Ann Can.
REBECCA.
Rebecca Ann Can. Help. Exactly.
Come to hear what she has to say.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Oh, you just made me a little like title song for my podcast or something.
Yes. You know what? Now we have the name for the podcast.
Yes.
Yes.
That's right.
So killed it.
All right. Well,
Thank you.
that's a wrap.